Are you full of yourself? Well, maybe you should be. Today I'm going to talk about an amazing quote I heard from Matthew McConaughey on a podcast that deals with exactly this issue and how I think it relates to alcohol-free living. If you're new here, my name's Jamie. I'm 27 and I've been alcohol-free for over a year. I don't come from a background of alcoholism or substance abuse, so that's not what I cover on this channel. I just want to share tips and tricks and things that have worked for me in the hopes that they might work for other people. I'm no expert in sobriety or anything like that. I just hope that these videos can help other people in the same position I was in over a year ago, where my social drinking was just holding me back from achieving my goals. So I saw Matthew McConaughey on the Modern Wisdom podcast hosted by Chris Williamson, and he was telling a story about how somebody once came up to him and said, "Matthew, you're so full of yourself." And he responded with, "Well, who am I supposed to be full of?" immediately. And after a moment, he thought about it and he said, "Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. Who else am I supposed to be full of?" And I think this is a great little, obviously, quip and line, but I think it speaks to a bigger issue on the alcohol-free journey, as well as just in the modern world. Because I only want to speak from experience, I'll say that when I was growing up, going through the US education system, as well as being constantly surrounded by social media and technology and phones and the news and politics and how everything has happened over the last decade, I feel like I started to lose a bit of touch with myself. I started to feel like I had less and less of an answer to the question of who are you and what do you bring to the world. And I think that is something that I've seen for a lot of other people around my age and in my 20s and in their 20s because of all of those factors that I mentioned. And obviously this doesn't go for everyone, it might not go for you, but I think if you're somebody who has started to include alcohol in your life and let it play a role where you're drinking every weekend or you're drinking socially or it's a main crux for you to drink and hang out with your friends, then this is probably something that is worth examining. This idea that you don't know who you are or you don't have as strong of a sense of self as maybe you used to. This is something that, like I was saying, I dealt with a lot. And so the person that I was when I was drinking wasn't the same person that I was deep down. I had this kind of like persona that I would put on and this like fun party guy. And then when I stopped drinking, I stopped doing a lot of the stuff that that fun party version of me did because that wasn't the authentic me. And I think the idea that, we don't know what we're bringing to the world and we don't know who we are, and so we use alcohol to add or mask or subtract certain parts of us, is something that I think a lot of people who rely on alcohol in social situations will probably connect with. And I think to bring it back to this quote from Matthew McConaughey, this idea that we need to be more full of ourselves, and obviously said with the intent of being more into who we are and what we bring to the world instead of kind of sheeping and shying away from what we have in our lives and what we can bring to everyday interactions. It is important to find that. And I think a lot of people go through the world, and I went through the world not being full of myself and being kind of constantly like shielded to what I wanted to put out in the world and bring to the world. And I think that discovery process is really valuable. And somebody like Matthew McConaughey obviously has a much better sense of who he is in the world because he's an A-list celebrity actor who's gone through a lot of transformations in his life and in his career. But I think it speaks to this idea that if we can find who we are and we can be full of ourselves and bring the best of who we are out to the world every day, then that can be really powerful. And I think a lot of people, including myself, don't do that, and we try to fit these molds of situations or personas or roles that we're playing based on predetermined scripts that maybe we don't still believe in, but we hold on to because that's what they used to be. Like I said, I'm no expert on this or anything. I heard this quote from Matthew and I thought it was really wonderful because it's kind of reframing this phrase of being full of yourself that we know as a negative thing generally, but I think that there is a lot of positivity to just having that extra bit of self-love and bringing that to the world by being more confident and bringing yourself out there and putting yourself out there. So I'm making this video to just say, be a little more full of your authentic self. If alcohol is still a part of your life, don't be more of the person who drinks, who does things that you regret the next day. But be more of the person who you are inside. And if you don't know who you are inside, then examine discovering that and examine what maybe removing alcohol and that additional layer from your life could do for you. And then once you find it, or once you start to pull the threads of who that person is, then be more confident, be more full of yourself. And I think it'll go a long way. And really, if we were all just a little bit more full of ourselves in the way that at least Matthew McConaughey meant it in this interview, then I think the world might be a little bit of a better place. If you enjoyed this video or thought it was motivational or helpful or insightful, please subscribe to my channel for more alcohol-free and sober-curious content. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.